This is Decoding Learning Differences with Kimberlyn Lavelle, and this episode is Writer's Block Wesley, a case study. So Wesley was a child who could read and comprehend at grade level. He understood math, but he was reluctant to write anything. If he was given an assignment, whether it was to answer a single question, whether it was to write an entire essay, he just sat there staring. And he would say, "I'm thinking," forever. For 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, he would just sit there telling me he's thinking. And nothing ever came of it. I mean, I don't know how long. Maybe he eventually would have written something. But usually, nothing. For no matter how long he sat there. So, of course, I didn't generally just let him sit there. We did something about it. One thing that helped him was sentence starters. Something he could just copy down to get him started. So, if it's the answer to a question, I might start with how to answer that question. And pretty quickly, I knew that he already knew how to start it. I just needed him to say it to me, and then I would write it for him, or I would repeat it back to him, and then he could write it down. He already knew what to write. He just wouldn't start. So sometimes just having those sentence starters. Other times it was a longer essay or something, and having some sentence starters as he got to different sections helped him think about, yes, okay, it would start the idea. Now sometimes he would write down the sentence starter and stop again. So that alone was not enough. Another thing that helped, again, not alone was not enough, was idea choices. So giving him different ideas that he could choose from on what he might write. If it was an essay about what he did over the summer and he's sitting there, well, I don't know. I didn't go with him. I would ask him questions. Then I might give him ideas about how to put that into a sentence. Or I might ask him, did you go anywhere? You could write about, or if I already know something that he did, you could write about this. You could write about your trip to Missouri. You could write about whatever it is. And of course, I kind of mentioned it already, conversations. So I'm having conversations with him. We're talking about whatever the topic is. We're having these conversations, trying to figure out, what do we do to help you be a little bit more successful to get through this? So I'm asking questions like, what did you do this summer? Or how would you start that answer? And then we're having conversations about it. Now, sometimes it's an opinion on something. He's supposed to write an opinion essay, and he doesn't know what his opinion is on it. So we have a conversation. And I kind of will try to argue both sides until he decides which one he agrees with. And then we go from there. Okay, well, if that's your opinion, then why? And, we're trying to get a little bit more out of him. I might be jotting down little notes on a piece of paper off to the side as we're talking so that he can reference it later and not have to worry about remembering something or writing anything down in the moment. Another huge one that I kind of just alluded to is that scribing part. I'm writing for him. So sometimes I take the whole paper out of his hands. Fine motor was a difficulty for him. Spelling was a difficulty for him. So I am taking that whole piece of paper out of his hands and I'm asking him. And I'm letting him talk to me. And Wesley is telling me exactly what to write. And I am just writing it down word for word so that the pressure of the fine motor, forming the letters, the spelling, he doesn't have to worry about that part. He just has to think of the ideas. He just has to say the words. I have heard before, and I think it may have been Marie Forleo, but I can't remember for certain if this is where I heard it, was If you can speak, you can write. So if a child can speak, we can use those ideas in writing. Get them generating their ideas, coming up with, what are we going to write? So taking the pressure of the physical writing out can help, can really help. And it definitely helped Wesley, because I'm there, I'm waiting, I've got my pencil in my hand, I'm going to write for him. And he knows that. And it kind of helped loosen things up and get him to actually come up with something to write. And there were times that I could see on his face that he could not. He couldn't think of anything, or he was feeling too much pressure. He was feeling too much stress. Whatever it was, he needed me to back off. So there were times that I backed off. I didn't say anything about what he was writing. I didn't push him any further. I just backed off. I maybe just gave him time to sit there and think. I maybe switched and said, okay, well, let's work on this math activity instead. Whatever it is, changing things up. Or I'd give him the option usually. How about we switch to this? What do you think? Yeah. Or, no, I just need to think. Okay. And there were times he just needed to think. So sometimes Wesley just needed that time to breathe, to think, and needed me to back off a little bit, needed the teachers to back off a little bit. So your takeaway from Wesley's story is that some kids are brilliant. Wesley was brilliant. But they might really struggle with what to write. And there's a lot of strategies that we can use to help them. And especially anything you can do to get them talking about what they're needing to write, and take the pressure of the actual physical writing away, grabbing that pencil from them and doing the writing for them. So if your child has any kind of learning difficulties and you're wanting a little bit of support, how do I help them? What do I do? I would love to brainstorm with you and help you problem solve. That is my love, my passion, my superpower. I love problem solving and coming up with very individualized ideas in how to tackle whatever the struggles are that your child is facing. So if you want to learn more about that, you can look at yourparenthelp.com and the services available. You can email me, Kimberlyn at decodinglearningdifferences.com. And you can also just email me to tell me any stories you have, especially if you have a struggling writer and maybe something that worked or something you've tried or anything that is going on with you. You can email me, Kimberlyn at decodinglearningdifferences.com. I cannot wait to hear from you. And I'll talk to you again next week.